And we are live. Welcome to We the People. We come to you each and every Thursday in the 2 o'clock hour just to remind you that you have power and say-so in government. Malcolm X once said, education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Government and how it works impacts us 24/7, 365, so we have got to get smarter about it. I'm your host, Angela Taylor, and I'm here with my absolute favorite millennial. I was going to say millennial again. Michaela McCray. I call her Eminem because she doesn't melt under pressure, as you see that I may sometimes do. Okay, and our guest, Kenny Jones, is on his way to the studio. Today we're going to talk about Project 2025, white supremacy, but we're going to preface it. I'm going first, and Eminem's going second, because we need to take you guys to school about some other stuff. I'm going to talk about Prince George's County, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Malika. Michaela. When I'm done. Now, we just had a special election in Prince George's County. And I got to say, especially the folks I talked to in Bladensburg, Maryland, I am so freaking disappointed in you guys. Because to a man at the Save-A-Lot, at the Golden Gate carryout place, and even in the AutoZone parking lot, all I heard when I asked about, did you vote? Yeah, I voted for Jolene Ivy. And I'm saying, why? Because that's the only name I knew. I've been telling you guys since Jesus was a baby.
A little baby.
Yeah. You could go to Ballotpedia and find out who is on the ballot. You need to vet these folks before you vote, because what we are doing in Prince George's County, we keep electing repeat offenders, people who are mismanaging, people who are stealing, and then we wonder why we get bad government or bad decisions at the local government level. We get that because you guys ain't doing your part. You're not doing your part as a citizen. You got to vet before you vote. Now, we had Mr. Jidenbot, Tamara Brown, and Angela Angel in studio to give you guys a point of reference. At least you could go and research those folks. You could have researched everybody on the ballot. Everybody knew the name, or should know the name if you got a kid in school, Judy Mickens Murray, who got the second lowest vote count of that special election. But the most disheartening part to me was that you see the names on the billboards around the county. You didn't even bother to look. And what you do or not do, because some of y'all just threw the ballot in your trash can at your house. Yeah, I got some of them too. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you gonna keep getting what you're getting. We keep letting folks who have their own personal agenda, whether we threw the ballot in the trash can at our house or not, because if you did that, you took a vote too. And you're putting somebody in office who has shown you that she's going against your interests. Now, I've seen commercials, or saw commercials before election day, that we balanced the budget, or I balanced the budget. You know, hugging Angela also Brooks. If you got $171 million, if you start off $171 million in the hole, I don't know what budget you balance, because you're going to carry that until the deficit is gone. I've asked Mr. Elliott to explain that to me, and I'm going to have a conversation with Richard Elliott. He writes for the Informer, because That's you can't if you in the hole, you ain't got no balanced budget. I don't care how you cut it. If you can add and subtract, that's what's happening. Now, that deficit is going to go into next year. Who you think gonna pick up that bill? Now, Jolene Ivey, who is a member of the council already, she represents my district, District Number 5. But if she gets the at-large seat, guess what? We're gonna have to fork up another $1 million+ for another special election for the District 5 seat. Now, just hypothetically speaking, if also Brooks gets the Senate seat, and as much as I hate to say it, we need to vote for her because we need a majority at the federal level to support democracy. And just by virtue of her occupying that seat, we got another vote to make things go our way, as far as our way goes, according to McKay. Okay. But it would be in our better interest to vote for her rather than Hogan, because Hogan is carrying the Republican torch, which means, to me, Project 2025, closing down the Department of Education, reinstating the draft, so for girls and boys at the age of 18. And if you have kids in private school, then you'll be exempt. And how many of us have kids in private school? So I'm looking at it like all minority kids automatically at age 18 gonna have to register for the draft. And that's how it was in the 60s. But anyway, long story short, if she gets the at-large seat, that's another special election for District 5, the council seat in District 5. Now, if she decides to go for the county executive seat, if and when also Brooks wins that Senate seat, that's a second special election. So we're going to have to rehash the at-large seat if she runs for county executive. That's one election. That's the county executive election, excuse me. Then we're going to have to redo the at-large seat that she has already won, because she's going to vacate that. And we got the District 5 seat. So that's 3 elections that we paying for. You all need to pay attention, because that's impacting your pocket. I think that's pretty much all I have to say on that subject. But people, your elected officials at their local level, and at your state level, and at the federal level should be in your cell phone. Because as I often say, ain't nobody gonna know what you think unless you tell them. Now, y'all can tell me when you see me at the grocery store and we can have this discussion, or you can knock on my door and sit around my dining room table and have a discussion, but that ain't doing nothing for the collective us. We have got to start letting these elected officials know where we stand, and we have got to hold them accountable for what they do and what they don't do that we tell them that needs to be done. So with that, I'm going to move over to the Olympics because I've heard some very disturbing comments about you idiots. Yeah, I'm going to call you idiots because it's my airtime and I can do that. How you going to say something about... No, let me... Go ahead, Michaela, because when I think about it, it just pisses me off to the nth degree of pissivity.
Well, I just want to start by saying I love when pop culture has this thing where it just puts very necessary conversations on the table. I think it does a really great job to see the interdisciplinary identity between different generations. But yeah, I definitely was remiss this weekend. Went through a whole lot of emotions, was feeling a certain type of way. And it mainly has to do with this 2024 Olympics. I know that a lot of us are seeing it on a lot of different levels, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and present what
Please.
What dropped into my spirit, what just gave me a little razzle dazzle of knowing. So I'll start by saying, and it's so much that's happening, and I have this iconic feeling that tonight is going to really transcend into a whole different level. That's why I was like, I don't know if I should say something today or just wait till it all finishes.
Say it right now, because they done already started this garbage online. How you gonna point at?
Wait, let me
Okay.
Because you gotta present it. You gotta present it.
Okay.
You gotta present it for the people. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So currently, right now, I'll start by saying USA has the most medals awarded in this 2024 Olympic trials. As of this morning, it was 94 medals, which I think is really iconic. Australia's number 3, and I want to say, I can't remember who's number 2, but that's the top 3 of awards thus far. And when I woke up Sunday, was it Monday morning? One of these days I woke up, and I got on social media, and I saw the most disheartening comments that I have visually seen in my lifetime. And why I say it's so disheartening is because it unveiled something that I think we understood as a people, but to the degree that it's been presented, I don't think in our wildest dreams we would have thought this was going to be the reality. So currently, right now, there's this ongoing disgusting argument between foundational Black Americans, which we conditionally know them as African Americans, and other individuals of other continents and countries,
but not of other cultures.
Not of other cultures. So I want to start, because I'm such a teacher at heart, with what the term is that we're missing, and the term is diaspora, however you want to,
diaspora.
However you want to get the tongue going. And so basically, what a diaspora is. It refers to the dispersion of or spread of people from their original homeland to various parts of the world. This term is often used to describe communities that maintain a connection to their ancestral lands despite living far away. So you have a African diaspora, you have a Caribbean diaspora, and this type of terminology is necessary when you're understanding the history of America. So when I woke up that morning, I went on social media and I saw some very heinous comments in regards to the 100-meter race with Sha'Carri Richardson, Alfred.
Well, some Black people.
The Jamaican lady.
We got it. Look, we important. We got names. I have the names. Julian Alfred, Sha'Carri Richardson, and Melissa Jefferson. So these 3 women ran the 100-meter. Julian Alfred from St. Lucia won the gold. Sha'Carri Richardson from the U.S. won the silver. And Melissa Jefferson, also from the U.S., won the bronze.
Right. And
the type of comments that were being presented were very derogatory comments to Jamaica. And you had foundational Black Americans saying, bumbleclot, just very disrespectful language, to the point where when I was reading these comments, my first assumption was, damn, they got these crackers in these comments showing out. Then when I went to look at the profiles, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's no way that these are Black people.
What the comment that really disturbed me most was Sha'Carri Richardson thinks she's all that.
And
oh my God,
this is how you know people just it be the people. Then they make a statement that she didn't win. She very much did win.
Exactly.
She won a silver medal. Like the fact that really gets me is like, wow. And because I don't have time to take up the whole show because this is just a small point and my big point. But when you have people who Olympic gold medalists are part of a 0.0% of society, 0.01%, right? And we have made this inhumane, unhuman-like, narrative that justifies, our own internal lack of reality when it comes to these athletes,
or our self-hate,
or our self-hate. And my larger comment is basically it is ignorant, it is disgusting, and it's very disappointing to have foundational Black Americans in commons destroying the collective celebration of our brothers and sisters from other countries and their success. Because let me tell you something, if there was a white man that was running for USA and it was a Black man running for Jamaica and it was another white man running for Canada, I'm rooting for anybody Black, because when they win, we all win. And while this self-hatred and this exploitation of reality was happening, we missed the larger understanding for the first time in Olympic history. And that's why I said I didn't want to go ahead and say anything, because I have a feeling that we're going to have even more groundbreaking situations. The 100 meter for the men and the women and the gymnastics for women have all been held on the podium of Black people. It has never been a time that we have seen this. And then when you're looking at Jordan Childs, Simone Biles, and Rebecca Andrade, that picture of them saluting power and really showing that with this shared sense of power, we can all win, is as powerful as the 1968 Black Panther saluting picture. Yeah. And we missed the mark. And it's so disappointing, because for something that could be so extraordinary for us as a people, we allowed, with the power of white supremacy, to totally miss the one of the greatest things that we have ever witnessed.
Yeah. I have to ask a question.
Yes.
And my question is, I don't know how true it is, so I don't want to put it out there and be wrong. But I think I read an article that was saying that one of the reasons why Jakari was not up to her par was because she was not allowed to get into the gate.
Exactly.
Oh, 100%.
And
so
she had to walk.
Yes.
But again, even with that, the fact that she came in second place,
or that she even won,
she even placed,
and that's another thing, because so what Mr. Kenny is talking about is Shelly Ann Price from Jamaica and Sha'Carri Richardson, because they did not stay in the village. Right. And let me tell you, for somebody who went to Europe and understand how the Europeans be living, everything that they said is total facts. It was unlivable conditions. And even right now, you have on social media where there's a lot of Olympic people who are aspiring to be Olympic medalists, right? Who are in the trials and in the games, who are sleeping outside of parks. The conditions were unbearable. But as American people and as Black American people, we did not galvanize behind our people and show our support. Instead, we used the moment that we automatically assume, because one thing we don't do is research and try and find understanding and knowledge. We automatically assume that there was just failure. We gave no time for grace. We gave no time for mercy, and we spoke too soon. And when we spoke too soon, we had to ride a narrative, and our Black women were not able to be supported to the way in which we needed to be. Because if you have an American and a Jamaican, there is no excuse that we should not have rallied behind them.
I think one of the issues that people are having a big problem with is the strength of our women, period.
Yeah.
The strength of our women, because nobody wants to acknowledge the fact that you ladies, being of color, come from Africa, who is the seed of everything.
Exactly.
And when you
say that again for the people in the back, because that's what pisses me off more than anything else.
And see,
we all come from that culture. We
mitochondria Eve.
Yeah.
It's the foundation.
But here's the thing. And in that, they are trying very, very hard to not acknowledge the strength of our culture. And even when you go back to our people, that when we were coming up, they couldn't figure out, even during slavery time, we were a family, we were being beaten, we were being enslaved, we were being tortured in all kinds of ways, but yet we thrive. We thrive because we had a family unity, and the strength of our culture was in our women. And until they realized that if you take that woman out the house, that's what collapses things. But now we have coming back to, like Maya Angelou say, but still we rise.
Exactly.
Because when you look at it, you look at Jakari Richardson, of all that she's been endured. I mean, nobody ever said anything about Michael Phelps and smoking weed.
All right.
Yeah.
But now Jakari Richardson, you know, gets caught up on, you know, some emotional issues. They tried to say something about Simone Biles when she took her own mental history, her own accountability, because she knew what she had to do for her. What did she do? She came back, and she came back strong.
Better than ever.
And
The
that's
religion of white supremacy.
Yeah, but see, that's the
we
same
are
difference.
buying that bullshit.
But see, now what they're trying to do now is there's something that they done got caught. They got slept on.
Okay.
Kamala Harris.
Okay.
See, because they were so busy. Because initially, those people weren't worried about Joe Biden.
Right.
What their biggest nightmare was, all during the Biden presidency, was if something happened to him, they'd have to deal with Kamala. But guess what? Hello.
Yeah.
Now Kamala's out in the forefront. They wanted Joe Biden out the picture. But
Now they want him back.
Now they don't know what to do.
Now they want him back. And you know that narrative is very important. So I'm gonna go ahead on 8/8/2024. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make this statement. This is the year of the black women. And we're seeing it in every aspect of knowing. And I say that specifically because Malcolm X told you the most disrespected and most hated person in America is the black woman.
Exactly.
And understanding it was through the nursing, the literal nursing of the mind, body, and the soul of black women that this nation is even where it is today.
Exactly.
And the craziest part about it though is, I think the most important narrative, because even when Kamala first said that she was going to run, and I'll go ahead and be transparent, wasn't a fan of her at all.
I wasn't either until I did my homework.
Still ain't, but that's besides the point. But this is the thing. I'm not a fan of no politicians, to be honest.
Yeah.
I give everyone the same level of understanding. You don't get more points because you're black. You don't get more points because you're a man. You don't get no more points because you're a woman. It's put them in the ring, coach. I'm ready to play. And so even though that is the narrative, what I am in favor of is the safeguarding of democracy. And what this election season is going to do, because I started saying it last year, we're fighting for the soul of this country. We're fighting for the democracy of this country. And we're also fighting for the true identity of this country.
Right.
For far too long, white supremacy has had a safeguard and a chokehold on us as American people. You didn't have people that were speaking out because people were afraid.
Exactly.
You didn't have people having the very hard conversations. You never had people to actually have to choose a side of the fence. We had the covert racism. We had the covert
racism, covert.
All of it.
The one thing I'll give Donald Trump that he did.
Please be honest.
Wait a minute. I'm going to be honest. The
Go
one
ahead.
thing that I give him, he exposed everybody. He exposed those people that were up on the Hill, because a lot of us wasn't even thinking about Congress and what they do and all of that, because
A lot of y'all wasn't.
No, back then, you know, they were just saying Congress this, and they were accepting what was given to us by the congressmen, by the politicians. But now, especially when Barack became president, all of a sudden we became more conscious. There are more people now who are into politics and watching them than there's ever been.
But again, when they took the civics and government out of school, because I will contend till I can't, I will beat this drum till I can't beat it no more. 3 things you're going to need for your whole life. That's math, English, and government. What did they take out of school? They took the civics and the government out of school because it impacts. They put on television. The media says, or it makes people think, because they've taken the government out of school, civics and government out of school, that the president has all of this power, and did not shine the light on the chambers of Congress, because they're using it as one entity. That's why people poo-poo the midterm elections. Those are the most important elections. People are now beginning to relearn that through shows like this, through shows like
Native
Land Process. People are beginning to speak out. So people are getting smarter about government. I'm having more conversations. Well, I've always had conversations with my neighbors, but other people are having conversations with their neighbors based on what they are learning from those kinds of media outlets. So saying all of that to say, people are now learning that, if one person had the power, we would be living in a dictatorship.
But see, when we're talking about that, there's no way that we can talk about power and not talk about white supremacy. It's a synonymous adulteration of understanding that we walk into blindly oftentimes, and then when we try and have different movements and structures like that because we're not aware of how the system works, then it dismantles us as people.
But I thought I started off with the religion of white supremacy. I thought that's the first thing I said.
Well, you have the religion of white supremacy, which is something that you definitely have to understand and know. But then you have to understand the system of white supremacy, which is what we talk about quite often, on the show, and which allows you to understand then the power of something like Project 2025. Because you can believe something, and that's just your belief. But when you have a belief of something and the power to do something,
see, one of the things that I found out about white supremacy is because of the races and the time that's been on, that has been in power, a lot of these people are generational white supremacists and don't even realize it because it's been indoctrinated in them, and it's all a part of an ideology. They don't know, just like the guy who killed George Floyd. These guys who are cops, they think that this is their normal way of thinking because this is what they were brought up to think. This is the ideology that they know is wrong, but they don't feel that it's wrong in their environment.
That's because they've been getting away with it for so long.
Oh,
and I would say that they don't know what's wrong because they feel like they're entitled to do that.
But the problem that you're running into now is that the fact that we are awake. Because what's happening is over the years they used fear tactics. These kids nowadays ain't scared of them no more. People aren't afraid of them no more. For one, and the reason why that they're using these, and I hate to put it this way, when they're using these Mexicans to come over here, they are the quote unquote new niggas because they give them the same things. They come over here, and what he means by black jobs is because our kids ain't taking them jobs no more. They going to school.
No,
that's right.
I guarantee you, I'm not picking shit.
That's what I'm saying. They're not taking them jobs no more. Our kids, for the majority of our kids, are focused on education and getting or creating the jobs,
becoming qualified for the jobs that they're trying to move the goalpost on, not realizing that when you make this statistical analysis, African American women are the highest degree,
without a doubt.
So they're doing, so they have to get somebody to replace us in those menial jobs. Trash man, garbage people, or whatever they doing, laborer jobs. That's why they don't necessarily want to say it, but that's why they keep letting them in because they need that. They need
exactly.
That. And not to say that it's bad because growing up, my daddy worked for the DC sanitation department, so I know that it can provide. But see, as long as they can keep you in these jobs and you don't have to have an education, you don't have to have things. That's their way of keeping you where they want you to be. Right. And right now, those same people who are coming over here getting those black jobs are the same people who are discriminating against us. I mean, at one point, the reputation was if, you hire a Mexican, they'll do a good job and they'll do blah, 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 blah. Nowadays, they done got just as slick as those thieves on the corner. So, I'm not saying that they're better. I'm not saying that they're worse. But you have some good and you have some bad.
And good and bad does not come in a freaking color.
It doesn't.
Well, assimilation to the conditions of white supremacy is a necessary thing to be successful in America.
But the thing is, you have to understand what they don't do is they are afraid of one thing, the black family.
For sure.
Yeah. They're afraid of the black family and they're afraid of unity. On my job right now, if they see 4 of us sitting out on the thing just congregating, they will break that up. They don't want us communicating. They don't want us getting to know and comparing and to wake up to see what they're doing. The best thing that I can say is that I have seen during the Trump administration is there are more back in the day, there were more drug boys out there selling drugs, but now these drug boys got business minds now. They're owning their own companies. They're doing, they're smart. But just because you sell drugs don't mean you're stupid.
Oh,
I mean,
without a doubt.
You gotta be smart. It's a
You
business.
market.
It's a
I've seen
business.
They the smartest
person,
ones.
4 people in a 4-block radius on Crawford Street in Southeast off Minnesota Avenue. Them boys was thriving back in the 70s.
Absolutely.
When people wasn't getting killed, none of that stuff.
No.
They were marketed. If you took them folks out of that environment and put them in a Fortune 500 company, they could run it.
I'll give you a perfect example. Rayful Edmonds, who
Without a doubt.
just got out of jail. You know how he operated his thing? He had a 7 to 3, a 3 to 11, and a midnight shift. He ran that place like it was a corporation. People talk about they don't want him out because he did that. What has he done that George Washington, George Bush, and all those folks hadn't done too? He ain't killed nobody.
Exactly.
You know, was he running a business? Yeah. Was slavery a business? Yeah. But as soon as we learn the game, they want to change the rules.
But see, that's the thing, though.
Go ahead.
Y'all know.
No, but what my point I'm making is they know that these are business minds on the street.
Yeah. So
They
they're
know-
going to do
you got
everything to
more
try to
ti-
blow them up.
You have every, in these prison systems, okay, you got so much talent.
In the homeless population, you got a lot of talent.
You don't-
Marion Barry exploited, well, I won't say exploited that talent, but people weren't on the street like that because he let the people, the painters, he found out who had what skill, sent them in the house, refurbished blocks and blocks at a time. We did not have that homeless problem when he was in charge of these.
There's a lot of things people don't know about him. People don't know that and back in the day, when you got locked up, because there was a lot of things that he did that I didn't like at the time, but I understood it later. For example, he knew that the recidivism rate was very high in the city.
Right.
But what he also did was, for those brothers that was getting locked up for a bunch of BS that he couldn't do nothing about, he sent them to school while they were in jail. They had UDC. Those guys were getting college degrees while they're down Lorton. People don't talk about that.
Well, I know that my nephew, when he was down in Lorton, came out, and he could fix anything on a car now. He's got his own business.
Right. So see, these people have talent, and when you recognize what you have, and you see where they are, then you understand everything in this country was invented by one of us. One of the things that they talk about black inventions. The reason why they're not talking about they were black inventions because they were the slaves who created them. We had situations back during slavery where, of course we had to do the work. So what do? We learned how to make our jobs
easier way to do it. That's
How you
easier
got
way
the
to do it.
toilet. That's how you got the toilet.
The mailbox, the refrigerator.
But
you name it.
because they were black, the laws were, well, if I own you, then I own your invention.
Exactly.
So that's why people, and see, these younger folks don't see that because we have to wake them up to a point to where they have to understand the history because we don't want them to repeat
It ain't just the younger people,
But-
because we can only know what has been passed down to us.
That
So you
is
got to
the
be
truth.
honest to say that a lot of the generations don't know. A lot of people do not know, and a lot of it has to do with, and I understand it because I'm someone that studies it. Our history isn't easy. It isn't easy to understand. It is not easy to digest, and it's not easy to sit with on both sides of the spectrum.
Our history is to a degree if you look at it because just like we talk about, you look in our history books, we listen to the Queen of England and all of this. There were so many Nubian queens over on the, that came up. They were warriors. These women had their own armies.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, but again,
But
But we don't hear about them.
But again, and it's that going back to that old adage: you put it in if you want to hide it, put it in writing, put it in a book.
But see,
we got to open up the book.
I argue this point all the time. Not everybody was meant to be a griot. Not everybody was meant to tell the story. Before books were a thing, because
we had stories.
We look at the hieroglyphs. It was conversation. It was transgressional understanding through generations. It was community. So before we can hop on the younger generation not know, we have to be honest to say, well, we really don't know what it is we need to tell them to pass it down either. Because I should be able to go into any black space and pull up at least a genre or a generation or a time period in history and talk about it with everyone. You don't have to know all the dates. You don't have to know the specifics, but I should not be teaching people, and at least in 2024, I should not be teaching about Mansa Musa. I should not be teaching about the Harlem Renaissance. I should not be teaching about the Civil Rights Movement. I should not be teaching. It should be something that we know and that we understand. The same exact way that we know and understand Bible verses, the same way that we understand hymnals. It becomes repetition. The reality of it is we're not having conversations about our history because majority of the people do not know.
But here's my thing. I'm gonna have to interject there.
Okay.
I mean, you can't teach what you do not know. But once you, and you said we should not be teaching it. If you don't know, I'm gonna take you to school.
No.
I know I'm gonna take you to school. 'Cause that's my responsibility.
100%. But I should not be giving TED Talks about foundational Black information. It should be as cohesive as me pulling out a deck of cards asking who trying to run this spade in spades. But it's not. And what I'm explaining is a lot of it is not easy to understand. Like how hard it was for me to get the boys to watch buck breaking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Our history, and I understand we could talk about Africa. You know what I'm saying? I started the show with the diaspora and how powerful it is.
Yeah.
But before we can contend with any other aspect of American society, we have to first know where we came from, and because we're perpetuating it now. Our history is rooted in trauma. It's rooted in the trauma is so deep and so visceral that it is really what's holding us back for transgressing to the next generation. Anytime there's any problem in Black pop culture dealing with Black Americans, I always am able to link it back to some piece of history, whether it's slavery, the end of slavery, during Reconstruction. I can see how it's streamlined. So that means we have not dealt with, we have not grappled, and we have not contended with what we've been through. Henceforth, while we're literally teetering and knocking on the door to repeat it.
You know what the problem I see is with that? I see with the fact that with our kids, well, not with our kids, with our parents parents taught us how to fish. These kids are being handed fish. So if if you're being spoon fed, you don't know how to get out there on your own.
But see, who spoon fed us?
But here's what I will
because for one thing, these kids nowadays, a lot of these parents are teaching kids. I don't want them to go through. I want to give my kids everything I didn't have.
Now, who are the parents? Who are the parents?
The parents are maybe about your generation.
Gen X?
Huh?
No, she's a baby.
I ain't had no
She's
kids
a
yet.
baby.
No, I'm not talking about parents my age or something, maybe a little older.
But see, this is what I'm saying.
My age, your age, and my children's age.
We're
not passing. My children are very fortunate that they have a me
exactly
in the family.
No, they don't have a you. They have a y'all. You and your husband.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's true. But listen, let me tell you, because we have to see how powerful the transmitting of understanding is. We have passed down things. Very dark, dirty trauma. We passed down alcoholism. We passed down fornication. We passed down the brokenness of home. We have passed down fear. We passed stuff down. And so you cannot come in here in 2024 and blame it on the younger generation when there has literally been nothing given to us. We're literally starting from the very beginning.
I don't think that I'm doing it. Well, I'd like to think that I'm not doing it. And I don't think you're doing that.
No, see what it is. My kids are out on their own because I'll give you an example. When I was 16 years old, I had my own apartment, I had my own car, I had all this, and because I was taught to be self-sufficient.
Different time period too, though.
Different time period. Now you put a 16 out there in his own apartment, they'll kill him for his own car, just because he got his own car. But that's because we don't have.
Can a 16-year-old get an apartment?
No.
Yeah. Well, my mother got it for me.
But that's what I'm saying. Different time period.
But the thing is, there's a different time period, and you're absolutely right. But the thing is, just like you take any animal other than the human race, they put they put them out at a certain night and let them fend for their own. My mother let me know straight up. She said, "Look, if you need me, I'm here for you. But you got to learn on your own."
Well, I'm gonna tell you how wrong that is.
What you do not know.
And how wrong that is.
And we have dropped the ball on generations, or the overwhelming majority of us have dropped the ball by not sharing what we know with the younger generation.
Not even that. Do you know how long it takes to pay back $12,000 in debt? 23 years. Mm-hmm. Do you know how easy it is to rack up $12,000 in debt?
You can do it in 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So no, that narrative is completely wrong, and that is one way that we went wrong. The human mind does not begin to complete development until your late 20s.
Yeah,
but
wait a minute. The issue is that we have this narrative of, the younger generation, they're sensitive, they're weak, they're not equipped, and all of this stuff. Because
and where'd that come from? White America. But continue.
Exactly. Instead of you keeping them in your home, it has been the longing majority of my life to know when you turn 18, you got to get out on your own. We are not financially supported in a way to get out on our own. You should not leave the house before you're married, because do you know how dangerous it is to be a single woman in America?
No.
Hold on.
No.
Not only that, to design that narrative, it perpetuates white supremacy, right? Because when you got to be a certain age on the slave plantation, you were sold off, or you were brought into a world of making babies. Mm-hmm. So they ripped our childhoods from us. Then they ripped our early years from us to be perpetuated into a cycle. Think of how powerful it would be if mothers and fathers kept their babies home when they were able to transition out properly, financially, emotionally, and spiritually, into a space where they can then grow their family. You're asking 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds to transmit into a society that is not designed for them to be successful.
Well, one of the things that I found is that in certain cultures, economics is taught in school now. They took it out of our schools. Mm-hmm. Economics is taken out. They've taken out certain subjects that we need to know, like stocks, bonds, brokerage, investing. All of that is being taught in certain Fairfax County schools. Mm-hmm. You know,
keep going.
They teach that at a young age, so your mind can. These kids.
But where'd you learn yours? You learned yours at your house. I learned that at my house.
Absolutely.
That's what.
So what I'm saying is, so it's not, and that's one of the things that we have to talk to our politicians about, putting these things back in the school. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't learn it, because right now, middle school is a really, really crux. So that's where we really get to know these kids, and they start development in middle school. Mm-hmm. And some of those middle school programs, they don't have that. They got sports, they got this, they got that, but they don't have economics. They don't have how to structure your, remember how you used to tell us how to balance your bank book, mm-hmm. and all of that, economics, home economics, and all that.
But here's another thing too that you have to consider, and I contend that that's been true even when I was in school. In elementary school, parents show up.
Yes. In
high school, because you get ready they're starting the education process. In high school, parents show up because you get ready to leave it. That's where we lose most of our kids.
We lose them in the middle school, because I'm gonna tell you, I worked in the school, and I worked in the club, mm-hmm. and it's funny because I couldn't get these people. I'm not gonna say women, mm-hmm. but couldn't get these people at a PTA meeting, but they'd be happy hour all day long. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and if this is what the kid is seeing, then you're gonna have those issues.
But let me ask you this, right?
And I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about responsible parents.
Gotcha.
Because I think that argument is subjective. That's my word. I think that argument is subjective, mm-hmm. because it impacts a small amount of people.
But the small amount is what gets noticed.
No.
For example, I'm gonna give you an example, because of all of our people who do so many positive things, black, white, green, yellow, and blue. I'm not putting a race on it. Mm-hmm. The negative. You can do 10 positive things, but everybody's going to take notice to the negative.
The bad stuff is easy to believe.
Right.
It's not even that, because I personally believe that, the economics and teaching our kids how to circumnavigate through this weird, dirty, infested country is one thing. Mm-hmm. But when you ask yourself, what is valuable? What we value is what we teach. What is it that if you had a baby?
Again,
and we had to
say that again, because what we value
is what we teach.
My parents valued economics. My parents valued a work ethic. My parents valued education, and it all started. All of those three components started right in my house.
But your economics cannot be achieved unless you are accepted and you are chosen to make a certain amount of money.
I disagree.
Okay.
disagree with
Well,
that, too.
that's cute.
Disagree
I
with
like it. It's cute. But you are limited to a certain level of earning based off of certain characteristics that you have. Some people are fortunate enough to be business owners. Not everybody's equipped to be a business owner, so that leaves a subjugated group of people. You know, and it is where it is.
Do you understand? I know more millionaires who don't even have a high school diploma.
Thank you.
You know, and that's all in work ethic.
That's
you know?
what it is.
It's
Good things come to those who hustle. Not
That's
to
right.
those
You
who
could take a hustler and you could take a hustler and put him in a different environment, but when time gets rough, that hustle gonna come out. They gonna make it.
And it don't have to be
I've had
anything illegal.
okay. Well, we have let's go with that narrative. We have the youngest millionaires in my generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all we need to teach is economics. Economics changes the conversation.
No,
They have the money.
Yeah, but see that long. But here's the thing.
I named you three things. You
Yeah.
just named one.
But
His whole thing was economic. The education piece, when you're talking about the government, that's what I'm saying. And we start with it. The government is not just the government.
it's not your friend.
It's not even that it's not your friend. It's not designed for people like us because of the hoarding of power.
I don't disagree with that.
Power is equatable to money. They control the way that money
But
is
here's
dispersed.
the thing. During the course of our history, we've had so many entertainers who had a whole lot of money but didn't know what to do with it, so they swindled them out of it.
Why? Because with that economics, what can you do? You can galvanize people.
Wait a minute. So now what I'm saying
That's
to
correct.
you is, and you're correct, but I mean they use that to manipulate us for a long time. These kids nowadays, sure you get some of them to squander it, but for the most part, they know how to handle their money. And when I was in the school
What
system,
kids?
our kids. No, don't get it twisted. Let me tell you something. When I was working in the school system, there's a different way. People are different learners. Some people are visual learners, some people are audio learners, and some people are just straight street learners. I had to tell a math teacher one day, you talking about this guy here don't know how to do the math. I said, I tell you what, put a triple beam in front of him. You know.
What's a triple B?
Well, triple beam
Isn't
was
it dice?
no, a triple beam was when they had to know how to make that money on the street.
Okay,
You put a triple,
okay.
you know, because right now, and I'll be honest with you,
I know
when we
you've
were
been-
coming up, you had nickel bag, dime bag, this, that. Now they going by what? Grams,
Yeah.
or whatever. They selling dope on a metric screen now.
Yeah.
So when you put that scale up there, that's how they know how to, and that's how they do it. So now they know how to make money, but now you got these kids nowadays. They know how to save their money, they know how to work their money, and they know how to make that money work for them now.
You can only save and make money when you have a community around you. You cannot save and make money when you're living paycheck to paycheck. And most people in our generation right now are living paycheck to paycheck.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why I don't
would
agree with
No,
it.
I agree with that.
It is that's certain people because that's the way we are. For me, wait a minute. For my job, sure, I work. I mean, if I don't work, I don't get paid. That's the way it is, and that's the way my mother was.
Are you
If don't-
single?
Yeah,
So you're the only one that takes care of you.
yeah.
Most people in my generation are single. We're not at it. Our marital rates have dropped. And that's what I oftentimes have to say. You cannot base a thesis off of your own personal experience and what you've seen.
But-
the larger majority of America is struggling financially. And you bring a kid into that situation, which most people do have children, but they're not in 2-parent households. And the average, do you know what the average salary is right now for one person
I'm listening.
without a degree? $39,000.
But here's the thing.
I was going to say
When-
30,000.
Yeah,
It's-
but,
it's
that, but,
30
but here's the thing. When you talk about the average household, okay, for one person, there's a reason. The system is designed for that one person household to raise a kid.
And I agree, but
But-
so the conversation can't be we need to teach people economics. You're trying to teach them how to do
Listen.
something that they don't have.
Listen,
$39,000 will not even get you halfway through the year. Then you make just too much for government assistance. You make not enough to be in certain spaces and it limits you. That's all that I'm saying.
But here's
We
the thing.
know the problems.
But my situation when I was growing up, my mother raised 7 kids, okay? And what I did I mean, all of us didn't. We went in different directions. Don't get me wrong. But the one thing that I learned early in life, if I'm hungry, I get a job at a restaurant. If I want me some shoes and clothes, I get me a job at a clothing store. So I knew how to bring stuff home.
When you were growing up with your mom and your 7 siblings or 6 siblings, were you a part of a community?
Oh, without a doubt.
We don't have community.
Yes, we do. And I'm gonna tell you something. You go into those, even if you go into the projects, you can go on 22nd Street right now. Even though it might be the roughest one of the roughest streets in the neighborhood, that is a very close community.
Yeah.
People
But again, I think that we got pockets like that. We need to
everybody
see how
knew,
we can bring all of that.
everybody
together.
knows Miss Thelma.
If
Everybody know not to mess with so-and-so's mother.
If you're-
they
if-
have ethics in certain neighborhoods. They do have ethics, and
Yeah, I
they
know.
do look out for
certain neighborhoods, certain people, certain pockets of success does nothing for us as the larger group. I think that's what we kind of saw in different movements. All I'm saying is, what do we value? What is most important? You said economics, education, and what else?
Unity. Right now, the biggest problem in this country is coming to be their biggest nightmare. We're starting to come together.
We are.
Huh?
I said we are.
And see, that's the problem, because no different than Simone Biles and them, they gave that young lady her props. You know, you have people in our race right now who are coming together. You got brothers that's been locked up for years that's coming out now. They've realized what the deal is. They're pulling these younger
That's
brothers
true.
up.
That's
They're-
true.
They're pulling these young brothers up.
That's
And
true.
that's
they want-
all across the country.
But
It
that's all.
is.
But that's all I'm saying. They're
So,
seeing
but
that
see-
what they experienced and what they did. I'm trying to pass something down to the younger generation. My whole premise of why I felt the way that I felt is you can't come here and say what we're talking about the younger generation if
you didn't pass nothing down.
when you didn't pass anything down to us.
Yeah.
But
As
they had
as
to-
a family,
But they had to learn. These
Wait,
brothers had to learn. And the only thing I ask, even with my grandkids, you know what I ask them when they mess up? I don't chastise them. I said, what did you learn from it? Because experience is the best teacher. If you go stick your hand in that daggone wall and get the stuff shocked out of you, what'd that teach you?
do you know what's better than experience being the best teacher?
What?
Examples.
Same thing.
Examples.
I learned a lot about what not to do by watching my brothers.
Exactly.
but again-
and so that's what I'm saying. Like where we are now, and that's why you said it at the end. The thing that gives us success is coming together, but we cannot come together if it's blaming. I rarely get on here and blame anyone. All I give you is the facts. But no one in my generation wants to hear that y'all don't know nothing. No, because okay, we know exactly what y'all taught us. Henceforth, while we're exactly where we are.
And I don't disagree with any of that. And I think we've had this discussion before. Some people in your generation have had the misfortune of getting with folks.
Thank you for the access to the room.
Okay. I don't know what that was about. I guess Fabian. Anyway.
I hope you heard the white supremacy part.
Okay.
Well, but you got to think about this too.
Wait a minute, I didn't finish my point.
Okay, go
sir.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, we have because we've had the discussion. When you're around people who don't pass down the knowledge, and we assume that because you are a certain age, you should know certain things. That's where we mess up.
But
We have not done our job, and I'm talking about baby boomers, not me. I am not talking about me. I'm talking about y'all baby boomers. I'm gonna get that real straight. Gen Xers.
I don't even know what I
You're
am.
like you're kind
I'm a
of on
baby
the end
boomer.
of
I'm a
the
baby
boomer
No,
Gen X.
you're not a baby boomer.
Yes,
Yeah,
I am.
no, you're
You in your 60s? I mean, you in your 70s?
No, baby boomers was 41 to 63. Right
But then
after-
what am I? A fossil?
You're a
It's
baby
not-
boomer.
No, I'm older than 63.
Yeah.
But-
she's
No,
a
I'm a baby boomer. I'm a baby
They're in
boomer.
That's what I'm saying.
They're in their
Yeah,
70s and 80s.
From 1941 to 1963.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyway, we make assumptions and we haven't done our jobs. We're pointing fingers and we haven't done our jobs.
Because how can
It's
you see that a young person can't make biscuits and you can make biscuits and you don't teach them how to make biscuits?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I
I
found.
said I know some people in my age group who can't make a good biscuit.
But you know what I found, and this was one of the things that me and my friends were talking about a couple weeks ago. One, we were in a restaurant, and me and a couple of my buddies we grew up with, and there was these 3 old guys, and they come to the restaurant every Friday morning to have breakfast. And we asked them, we said, you know, well, y'all brothers? They said, no, we're just best friends. How long y'all been friends? We've been friends for the last 65 years. And, you know, one of the questions was, God, wow, you guys have been friends for a long time. And the guy told me, first thing we did is respect each other.
That's it.
That's thing one. And the second thing is, you have to say, and we learned it all the time. We heard it all the time. If you get with 9 successful people, there's a possibility you're going to be number 10. If you get with 9 bums, chances are you're going to be number 10.
Yeah.
So I mean, because where I grew up at, we had our groups of people and our groups of friends, but the one thing we did not do, if you didn't respect your parents, you couldn't be our friend.
But here's another thing too, a foundational thing for baby boomers in Northeast DC. Our 3 R's were respect, responsibility, and resilience.
That's right.
That's what our 3. Not reading, writing, and arithmetic. Respect, responsibility, and resilience.
Right, because you know what? I mean, and I'm starting to see these youngins are getting that now. You know, I saw a guy the other day take a woman, an elderly lady, you know, she was having a hard time getting out the car. He helped her out the car. I mean, that might be a little thing.
That's a big
thing. But without trying to rob her or anything
that's
like that.
That's a big thing.
So
I see a lot of that now.
And we're seeing that now. See, but there's going to be those pockets, but that negative pocket that you see is what makes the news.
Gets promoted.
Is what gets promoted.
That's what gets
so
promoted. We've got to promote the good stuff.
Right, because I have to commend, and there are a whole lot of single parent women who are raising some good young men.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that a woman can't raise a man, but I'm going to say this. She should not. Whether she have to or not, the situation.
She's doing
My mother raised me by herself. She raised me and my brothers. There was 7 of us. I'm the last one. But you have to think about it. You know, sometimes there's no book to parenthood.
No.
So every kid is a different kid with their own personalities, and you have to deal with each one accordingly. Just like you have grandchildren. And one might say you do this one for that one because you know who you're dealing with. You have to deal with each one differently. And they might think that you're being favoritism or whatever, but that's not the case. You know your kids. You know your grandkids. So, but the thing is, we're now learning to embrace and love them for who they are. And back there was a time when kids were chastised. I remember when I was in the school system, man.
It's the value system, Kenny. It's the value system that you teach and pass down. When she started off with the diaspora.
But the thing is, Miss Taylor, also you have some kids who come to school and they come to school in the morning, they don't have breakfast. You know, the school system. And I had to tell a youngin' the other day, I said, do you understand where the Black Panthers started? Well, what are Black Panthers? I said they started a school lunch program, but if you look in the movies and you look in the books, they're going to say that they were a terrorist group.
No, but if you look in the right books, they will tell you exactly who
but
they
that's
are.
what they're teaching them. They're teaching them because even a foreigner asked me, he said, you know, you act like you one of them. I said, you know what? Tell me what one of them is. You know, what do you know about them? I said, because, you know, they want to make it look like, I said, tell me about Huey Newton. Tell me about those guys. And they couldn't do it.
But here is, and I think it speaks to what we started off with. When you are familiar with the diaspora, you know anybody with melanin came from Africa. I was fortunate enough to that learning was promoted, and learning does not necessarily, you know, education is not confined to a classroom. That's how I was raised.
You're absolutely right. And the one thing that I saw something on the internet the other day that kind of blew me away, and that was the fact that when they show the pictures, in most cases, when they show pictures and photographs of Africa, they show lions running around, people living in huts. They are more diverse and advanced than we are. They have bigger cities than we have in New York.
Well, I mean, and I'm real clear on that. Another thing too, in Africa, it ain't no race.
No.
Race is a European concept.
Yes, it is.
And and you said one of the times you were on the show, Jesus is black everywhere but in the United States.
Yeah.
that's where that white supremacy control
Absolutely
comes in.
The only place he's white is here. And I asked somebody, we got into an argument on my job the other day because the guy said something.
You're going to
about,
have to let us finish our points.
Okay,
Ken.
but let me just say this. One of the guys said that Trump said that Kamala just turned black. I said, well, when did he just turn white? You know? And I'm done.
Okay, but when in the diaspora piece, this is something that we need to promote and teach in our community. Because if you got melanin, you one of us. And that's just cut and dry, pure and simple. So we have to galvanize, if you will, and promote that fact, because that's not a belief, that is a fact. And once we embrace that, we're going to stop seeing the crap that was on the internet about the Olympics and that kind of thing.
Fear.
Fear and God did not occupy the same space. The creative universe and fear did not occupy the same space, and that's why I believe that we have come. We got a long way to go, but we've come a long way, and we will not be denied.
You know, when I retired from the police department, I saw a guy that we went to a funeral, and one of the rookies were there, and they were talking about.
We're gonna hit on Project 2025 at least started, but continue the story.
And the guy told me how
make
they
it quick.
are now. We couldn't do what they're doing today because there's so much red tape, so much everything, and it's just we can't. The way we operated growing up, the jobs they wouldn't. You know, we couldn't survive. You and me couldn't because the formulas and the policies they have on most jobs. Now, they wouldn't. You know, we wouldn't.
But what did Malcolm tell us a long time ago?
Yeah.
We got to learn their game and play it better than they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to learn how to.
And
be
that's
in
what
that.
he did.
That's what he did. And the thing is, you know, all of our leaders, and what I think is the problem now is that back then they could identify the leader and take them out, and then they can take back control. Right now they don't have a specific leader.
But again, we had to, I was taught, in my house, I don't need no leader.
True.
I go out there and I be the leader
Yeah.
based on what I learned.
And that's what's fearful.
My father was self-taught.
And that's fearful for a lot of people.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not my problem. I deal with problems in terms of ownership.
And that runs in your family.
Yeah.
It's a Tillman trait.
Anyway, all right. Any more?
Let's get on Project 2025.
Yeah, because and this is the 101 stuff that I think that we need to put out there. People need to go and read. And I go to viable news, what I consider viable news sources, like the Newsweek, like the Politico, that kind of thing. If Project 2025 comes to fruition, and part of it was already exercised, or Trump did some of that in his first administration when he pulled out of the Paris talks.
He set it up.
Yeah.
He set it up. But J.D. Vance was part of it, too.
Set it up for a home run.
Increasing military spending, the offshore drilling, developing federal lands, because you didn't used to be able to touch federal lands until he became president. But the bigger things, to me, the 101 stuff that the everyday folks need to understand, embrace, and be like real clear on. You shut down that Department of Education. You don't have no school to send your kids to. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Well, I think another part of that might be the fact that, you shut down that and then you take away the justice system.
Well, again, what do I have down here? You want to give the president all the power to fire all the federal employees.
Right.
And the policies that are put forth in Project 2025, more than 75% of Americans, that's 75, and in some cases it's more, 75 out of every 100 people are against it.
I think part of it I read where they're trying to take some of these government agencies and moving them to the red states.
No, they want to get rid of the government agencies. They want to let the president put whoever he wants wherever he wants.
Right.
Go ahead, Michaela. I heard you breathe over there. Go ahead.
I think what's really important, and I'm very grateful that my professor had me watch this documentary on Hitler, because I think it's really important for us to see the trajectory in which we're going with the policy that was the policy proposal, because
The Third Reich.
right, when we're looking at like the Nazi regime, you had two different sides. Even what you're looking at with Palestine and what are the
Israel.
Israelis.
yeah, what's the little group?
Hamas.
The Hamas is the same thing as Hitler's group, and it's the same thing as Trumpers at this point.
MAGA,
Yeah. We can get caught up in thinking that this is a conversation on race and gender. It is a true conversation on power, and we talk about power being synonymous with economics. And so it's not even about the middle class and the poor. It's literally going to be that small percentage of the United States that controls the mass majority of everyone. So when we're talking in terms of minority and majority, ain't got nothing to do with black people at all. And so right now, when you're listening to the different narratives of Trump supporters, it's very clear that the ignorance that we think is being subjected onto us, we actually know a lot more than what they understand. All they know is raping, pillaging, destruction, discrimination,
Violence.
and violence and money. And so they're not able to see the reality of it, because when you hear them arguing a narrative that justifies their own entrapment, because the internment camp isn't going to be Jews, it's not going to be African Americans.
It's going to be the have-nots.
It's going to be the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
And you would have sold your identity in the name of a theory and an ideology that literally has no premise anymore today.
Do you understand that we funded World War II?
We have funded every
war.
war.
The United States
And we
has
go
funded
to
every
war at the brink of a depression.
All the time.
And if you look at
Historically speaking.
the characteristics of a depression, it's knocking on your door, people.
Well,
What are you going to do about it?
well, you know.
And I mean, again, as you have said, as Joe Biden is the first person I heard say it, we are fighting for the soul of America.
Yeah.
Joe
What
Biden
you
didn't
gonna
say
do?
that first.
I said he's the first person I heard say
Oh, I'm not.
it. I didn't even know you when I heard that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you look at it's business. You know, I mean, because you look at what businesses made profit off of the war. You know, you look at Prescott Bush, who was Hitler's banker. You know, when you look at the DuPonts, who funded the gas to kill all of those Jews. When you look at Ford, who was providing cars and automobiles for the Nazis to fight against us. Prescott Bush is Hitler's banker. I mean, come on. So it's all about business.
Well,
And
it's money and
it's
power.
money and power. So there's so many things that we have to at stake.
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
At
everything
stake.
is democracy is at stake.
But I think that here's one of the things that I was told.
And we're gonna have to wind down because
yeah.
she's
But
got
here's one of the things that I want to say that was told to me.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to vote, take 4 people with you, because you're not 1 vote, you're 5. You
Gotcha.
take 4 people with you, you got 5 votes right there. Even if you have an elderly person who can't get to the voting polls, or if you have a young person who just turned 18, get that car. Put 4 people in the car with you, and y'all all go to vote.
But we got to take them to school first.
Yes.
We got to.
I understand that. Most of the elders know, they just don't have a way to get there. And that's one of the things that I will give Barry. One of his biggest things was when the voting time came, he sent he sent those cars
Gotcha.
to pick up people to go to the voting polls. That's what we're going to have to do. Pick up people. Take them to the voting polls. They sit up in the house all day scared to leave because they watch too much news. They'll be comfortable riding with you. Pick them up. So that's not that 1 vote turns into 5.
Well, just bigger than that. Let's just get. I don't care how to get there. Get there because the soul of this country is
Absolutely.
at stake.
And you know
And it's not the people died so you could vote. People died so you could have a freaking choice.
And if it wasn't that important, they wouldn't be. They wouldn't be trying to stop it.
Ain't nobody trying to take nothing from you that they don't value.
Yeah.
If it's not valued, ain't nobody trying to take it from you. Okay. All right, because I know you got a 4:30 meeting, so we're gonna have to wind down unless you have some finishing comments. We're gonna continue to talk about Project 2025. Just in case somebody, didn't hear this broadcast, we got to drive this home from now to November because you, everyday John Q. citizen, you got a lot to lose.
Did you see the on was that MSN? They did a special on it for the whole week.
I remember Joy Reid did. Yeah. And you can go back and look at it online.
Okay.
You can YouTube it. You can go back and look at it.
But it's really enlightening and it's really scary. That's a horror show.
But again, 101 stuff. Just getting rid of the Department of Education alone. Having your kids roaming the streets all by itself.
Yeah.
You ain't teaching them the school system anyway. That's a whole nother show. But
And
your
Social
kid
Security.
your kid ain't gonna have no place to go. What you gonna do?
Especially if they're taking our Social Security too, spending it everywhere else.
Well, they owe the Social Security like $5.5 trillion, but because that's been Congress's petty cash fund since Ronald Reagan. Okay. Any more closing comments? Anybody?
Vote.
Mm-hmm.
If
Vote.
you can't get there, get a ride.
Mm-hmm. Vote. Understand that anybody with melanin, you ain't got no business disparaging them on the internet. Know where you come from. When you know where you come from, you have a much clearer vision as to where you can go. So with that, I'm gonna turn the mic over to Eminem.
Awesome show. Good conversation. Very thought-provoking. Thank you both for your time. But before we close out today, note that there's a lot of value in our broadcast. Please go to youtube.com / Angela Taylor 4119 and hit the live tab. Like and subscribe. Make it a point to take time to review the broadcast. Share with your friends. No one is going to save us but us. So with that being said, we need you.
Can I say one more thing? And brothers out there, support our sisters. I'm tired of hearing brothers get on public and social media, spinning negative stuff about our sisters, man. We ain't got nobody but them. Whether it be your sister, your mother, your daughter, your aunt, man, you got to support these sisters, man, because right now, with what we've been through, come on, man. I don't want to ever look on social media and hear anybody bad-mouthing a sister again. Because if you do, I'm going to tell you, I'm coming at you.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that support.
Awesome. So with that being said, we need you to count your blessings instead of your crosses, count your gains instead of your losses, count your joys instead of your woes, count your friends instead of your foes, count your smiles instead of your tears, count your courage instead of your fears, count your full years instead of your lean, count your kind deeds instead of your mean, count your health instead of your wealth, and by all means count on God instead of yourself. We have 88 days, 9 hours, 42 minutes, and 2 seconds until the next election, everyone. This is Eminem, and I'm out.
Yes, indeed. And please show up. Here at We the People, we do believe that there is good in the world. And we challenge each and every one of you out there listening to go out there and be the good. This is A20.